Schools are letting out for summer break. Pools are filling up and trips are being taken all over Texas. But accidents can happen anytime. That's why you have your ace in the hole, your right-hand man, the sombrero backing you up with Northwest Insurance Agency. Give us a call today or visit us at nwagencies.com to get covered under the sombrero today.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I'm Billy Embody. We are presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. Appreciate them helping us out, and all Mustang fans getting with Mark Villasana and his team to chat about their insurance coverage. 214-352-5656 or email him info@nwagencies.com. Lots to get to today. Hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend. And SMU Football had its own travel plans over the weekend as they brought in their newcomers, their freshmen, their transfers to join the program that weren't here in the spring. So a lot of guys coming from around the world, really, to make that happen. You got Abel Hoopy coming in from Hawaii. You've got some other guys coming in from around the state and beyond. So a lot of changes to this football program as they get back into the weight room with Sean Griswold. They were in there working out this morning and have been this week. The vets getting in there and showing the new guys how it's done. The football team's already released a couple mini videos on social media. So that summer workout, following is now there. It is now something we're going to be tracking at ontheponyexpress.com. So join us there for just $1 for your first week. And again, it is a week where SMU is lucky they've got the indoor facility. They've got the new Gary Weber end zone complex. So that'll be nice for them to avoid the weather, as the grass will get some extra free watering this week with the rain around DFW. And that's why it's also a great time for you guys to go ahead and go to moshield.com. Check out Mosquito Shield. Our friends Andrew Galloway and his family have run it for years, and they will help protect your backyard from those unwanted pests. Give them a call, 214-775-0622, moshield.com. Again, it is that time of year where the bugs are feasting off of that rainy weather. So make sure you call and mention On the Pony Express and get their best pricing of the season. So want to remind you guys of them as well. Let's jump into summer workouts and kind of what to expect now for SMU. For right now, the staff is getting ready for that June 6th Pony Express weekend on the recruiting front, but camps start June 1st, June 2nd. That's the big Dallas showcase, the mega camp with colleges from around the country coming to represent. So we'll be on site for that, covering that as SMU gets eyes on some of their top targets. And also, plenty of new prospects will come to campus as well, 2027, 2028 and beyond, getting a chance to showcase what they can do in front of the staff. And a lot of times we talk with the coaches on signing day about these players that have signed with the Mustangs, and you look back and they've camped, whether it be a private workout, whether it be the Dallas showcase, whether it be both, getting a chance to go against a wide range of competition or just work out privately for the coaching staff. This is where that road can begin for some of these recruiting targets for SMU. So it's not always this star-studded camp around the country for most colleges like it used to be, because most prospects at this day and age are getting into their official visits, are on official visits in this case for this May 30th weekend, and are doing that. They're already down their road of recruiting and making that happen. But there are a handful of prospects around the country that are going into their senior year that will camp. And who knows, maybe this changes their life and they get an offer from another college. Maybe SMU makes a move on a kid. We'll see. All that will be looked at by us June 1st, June 2nd. We'll also give the staff a chance to look at their targets and evaluate guys and see if anybody in this 2026 class deserves to fly up the recruiting board. But there'll be a lot of 27, 28. Yes, I feel like we're getting old. Most of those prospects, I believe, if my math is right, will have been born in 2010 and beyond, which is insane. So happy Feeling Older Day for you guys, or your Feeling Older moment of the week, brought to you by the On the Pony Express podcast. But summer workouts have begun with Sean Griswold. The guys are getting after it in the weight room. A lot of, bench press, squat, all the different workouts that they do, getting out on their team runs and things like that. All of those things that Sean Griswold and the staff begin working toward for that break the rock moment at the end of the summer, that last week of July where the team gets together for their final workout, final team run, and then they break the rock. And this is the time where you're going to see most of these players, pretty much, 95% of the team is here. We'll talk about who arrived. This is a time of year where Sean Griswold and his staff get to start forming this team. And with so much leadership on this SMU football team still intact, even though plenty of losses off of last year's team, there's a lot that is going to go into building this team. And it starts with a lot of the leadership. I made a comment on X or Twitter that, if SMU's defense is going to be as good as it was last year, it's going to start with these two. And SMU had posted a video of Alex Kilgore and Zakai Barker working out together. And there's so many more players, of course, but those are the type of guys that you look to for leadership. A veteran of the team, a highly thought of newcomer from the transfer portal who has his own skins on the wall elsewhere. Those are the type of players that are going to form the culture of this 2025 team. Kevin Jennings, Isaiah Wacobia, Ahmad Moses, PJ Williams, Savion Byrd, Addison Nichols, just kind of the list goes on. Romello Brinson, Jordan Hudson, RJ Maryland, Matthew Hibner. I mean, you can go on, Isaiah Smith, Cam Robertson. There are enough returning players that can really form the culture in the right way. It's on Sean Griswold and his staff to nourish that in the right way. And of course, we've seen a lot of success with this strength staff and the coaching staff putting together a great culture. We know that. And this year they get into the weight room, and of course, with now a target on their back. And speaking of targets, you've got some players coming in that are targets of the staff where they need to see a lot from them this summer as they come in as true freshmen or come in as transfers, because SMU needs these players to step up. They need them to be key pieces for this 2025 season. And I think none bigger than, a Dramad Odoms coming in as a high school prospect, a 5-star on 24/7 Sports, a top 50 prospect nationally for On3, one of the best modern history signees for SMU football. And I dropped a piece at ontheponyexpress.com about, how Garen Justice and the staff found him, how Garen Justice and this program, evaluated Dramad Odoms and hung tough throughout a recruiting process that was a little interesting as a whole for Dramad. He really, didn't necessarily go through it like you would have thought. He was at times standoffish with coaching staffs, and SMU just kind of had to hang in there. But what they saw was a incredibly athletic prospect that they were going after, and their coaches reached out in the summer and said, "Hey, he's still interested?" They said, "Absolutely." And there he is. He's on campus now checking in, and it's funny. He has a unique personality, and he's also going to be a very key member of this offensive line. Garen Justice talking about how they're going to put his feet to the fire, force the issue. Now, those are all things for fall camp, but when they get into these summer workouts, they're going to be able to see, okay, how is he as an athlete? How is he physically? What do we need to do to get him ready? He's one of the key members of this class of 2025 that can play early, that can start potentially even at some point this season on the offensive line for SMU. And as Savion Byrd goes through his process of defending his left tackle position, he's going to have a lot of push from a guy like Dramad Odoms, who comes in with so much just hype and expectations around him, just like one of his teammates on the offensive side of the ball. Dramico Green, Chunky, arrived, the 4-star running back out of Conroe, Texas, who one of the most productive running backs in the country, arrives on campus this week, or arrived, I should say, on campus this week, and will now get into the summer workouts and get to work with this coaching staff, which, needs, I would say, one more running back, right? Like, you've got Chris Johnson Jr., you've got Derek McFall, you have TJ Harden, who arrives later this summer from UCLA, the grad transfer who led the Bruins in rushing this year. All of those things in terms of what Chunky has in front of opportunity, or in terms of opportunity, just means that he has opportunity. There's unprovenness. There's options, though, and there's going to be competition, but he has the talent to make an early impact at SMU if he wants it bad enough, and shows it, by getting into the playbook, by picking up those pass protections and doing the things that this coaching staff asks of him. Those are all very important pieces to the puzzle when it comes to finding out if he is going to be a player that does contribute right away for SMU. And, the expectation is that he will and get some snaps in the game and not redshirt. And that's so interesting because last year we saw Derek McFall redshirt, playing behind a Brashard Smith who was incredibly productive, but also banged up at times. So Jermichael Green, if I'm SMU, I think the evolution of this position for them would be a minor tweak here. Get him into the game a little bit more if he's ready, if he can do it. Because Jermichael's a little different than a Derek McFall. I thought Derek McFall last year was a little, just not as maybe physically ready as he needed to be. Jermichael's a pretty big kid. He's probably carrying 200 pounds already arriving at SMU. He's got a big body. He's got a big frame. He can end up being in that 215 range. So maybe it is a little bit of a different conversation as far as what he can make as well. As far as what he can do from a physical standpoint, like he can contribute. That's just what he can do. It's just a different body type. So I do wonder if that'll play an impact on Kyle Cooper and how he manages Jermichael Green this year, because there are 3 running backs that are proven that don't have to worry about red shirts and all of those things. But that 4th, when you don't have a Brashard Smith, or at least going into the season, you don't know if you have a Brashard Smith type of workhorse, that's important. So I think he's got the physical attributes to play early, to play right away. And before we flip over to the defensive side of the ball for a brief moment to talk about another player who can certainly get it done, do want to remind you guys about our friends at the Thomas Auto Group. The On the Pony Express podcast is also presented by our friends at the Thomas Auto Group. Make sure you head up 75 to McKinney, check out their Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen dealerships, learn about the Thomas Promise, and also when you mention On the Pony Express, you get employee pricing on new and pre-owned vehicles. So check out the Thomas Promise today, and we appreciate Brandon Thomas, an SMU alum, supporting us at the On the Pony Express podcast.
At Thomas Auto Group, the Thomas Promise includes the low price promise,
the pre-owned promise,
and the 72-hour exchange promise.
and finally, the 100% customer satisfaction promise. So shop Thomas Auto Group today, home of the Thomas Promise.
And big news from the Thomas Auto Group. Brandon Thomas Mitsubishi just opened on 75 in McKinney, just south of their Ford dealership, Bob Thomas Ford. Now, Brandon Thomas meets Mitsubishi. The entire staff over there has been great. I went over there yesterday. We're looking at a new vehicle for the Embodies. My Jeep Wrangler is kind of on the end, and they've been fantastic. So looking forward to getting something finalized with them. But yeah, Brandon Thomas meets Mitsubishi now open. That gives them Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen, and Mitsubishi. Again, go up 75 McKinney and visit them today. And again, employee pricing on new and pre-owned vehicles. Do want to talk about a guy that was just profiled by one of our own. Kevin Longquist talked with Zay Gentry, the Anna cornerback, who arrived on campus this week as well after a long, hard-fought recruiting battle where Baylor had buzz, Wisconsin had buzz. There are different programs across the course of his recruitment that had buzz about flipping him from SMU after he had committed to the Mustangs back in May of 2024. None of them got him across the finish line, and he went and transferred to Anna and proceeded to have a two-way standout senior season. He also qualified for state in the track, in the hurdles department. So a really impressive finish for his high school career on that front, something that he wanted to accomplish. And he's somebody that is going to make an impact early for this SMU team, in my opinion. I just get the feeling that he's going to be able to find a way to get on the field. He's got length, he's got size, he's got athleticism, and he's going to be somebody that Ricky Hunley will give early opportunities to. I think that's where this program's at this point. I think they're at a point where you have guys like a Deuce Harmon, you bring in a Marcellus Barnes, you return a Jalen Davis Robinson. You've got different players that you can look to and really say, okay, we like what they can bring to the table. We think we're going to be in really good shape with those guys. Let's figure out if a freshman could play. Let's figure out if a freshman can contribute. And I think that's important. SMU as a whole, when it comes to the cornerback position, has been waiting on some of these young freshmen to make standout moves early on. And we've seen it here and there, but they haven't been able to necessarily sustain it. I think Zay Gentry has a chance to do that this year. He'll get some reps. I think he could be a really key special teamer. I know if you're watching on YouTube, you see him listed at just a shade under 6 foot 170. That's our last verified measurement on him. But I think he's probably going to be able to pack on some other weight as far as just adding that size to him. I know SMU lists him at 6'2", 175. I don't know. The discrepancies are pretty well documented when it comes to verified versus team rosters, but Zay Gentry will be able to add some weight. He's got a long frame, and I think that'll help him make an impact early on for this team. Whereas some other prospects like a Javion Holiday, I just think he's a little, and I really like Javion long-term. I think he's more of a long-term play. I think just he needs to add some lower body mass. I think he'll play early. I think you'll see him in some action as long as SMU takes care of business against, Missouri State. They'll bring the travel squad, so I'm not sure if how many they'll have there. But then you've got another reasonable non-conference matchup for the most part when it's Texas A&M Commerce that comes to Ford Stadium or East Texas A&M in the season opener. So he'll see some action there as long as SMU doesn't mess around. But he was somebody that was here in the spring, and I just think he needs to add weight. He needs to add size to his body to hold up, because corner is a pretty brutal position overall when it comes to the physicality of tackling. You've got to have some size. You've got to have that complementing your edge to your game. And I think just getting eyes on Javion Holiday this spring, I just think he can. And 2 months, 2.5 months or so is a long time. With the strength staff, he might be able to do it. But at least coming out of spring, that's kind of how I see it with him as far as his future potential this season. But SMU wasn't done bringing in early contributors, and honestly, it should have grouped this one in with Draymond Odoms. But Abel Hoopy comes over from Hawaii. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily peg him myself as an early contributor, but Rhett Lashley, Garen Justice have talked him up so much, where if you look at that right guard position with a Josh Bates, a Nate Anderson, Alex Woods, some of these other guys, maybe there's an opportunity there. Maybe there's an opportunity to spell Logan Parr at left guard. I mean, if you think about the left side of the line and Draymond Odoms and an Abel Hoopy, and again, I don't know if they're going to play him left guard, right guard, but maybe some pretty good size there for the foreseeable future. I know somebody on the board posted, the dream would be a Drew Evers coming in as well. A lot of people like him at center. A lot of people like him at guard. He's played tackle in pretty much all the camps and has done well. So it really has been quite the run for Abel Hoopy on that front. And so to get to SMU, he went through his recruiting process. He was somebody that won the offensive line MVP at the Under Armour Miami game, or Under Armour Hawaii game or camp, and then went on to the Under Armour game in Orlando and actually held his own pretty well against some top talent. So I actually liked his tape from those camps. It's kind of hard when you're scouting Hawaii guys because sometimes the competition isn't that great, but Abel is somebody that I think they're going to be able to find a way to, get into the program. And he's already strong. He's already physically, developed at a very high level. And he's somebody that the coaching staff has talked up a good bit. So I'm intrigued on that one. He doesn't have the glitz and the glam of a Draymond Odoms, but he can't be ignored. I mean, that when you get talked up that much by your coaching staff, you it's something that we in the media have to certainly pay attention to because these guys are around these players a lot, and they get the looks at them. They know what their roster is, and that's certainly something to know when it comes to Abel Hoopy. So another prospect that did make it to campus that I think will have a shot to compete and to earn playing time. And sometimes it doesn't always work out, but you stick in the trenches. Tyrone Winslow comes in from the state of Louisiana, big body in the middle, pretty athletic kid from what I understand, just getting a little bit of time to dig into him and talking with some people I know down in Louisiana. There are still some people that are kind of dumbfounded as to how he not necessarily left the state, but didn't have more going on as a prospect. So SMU gets him in. He did make it in, so he's on campus now, and his profile getting updated right now. There's a couple that I was waiting for some confirmation that they have made it in, and Tyrone Winslow did make it in, and will get a chance to make an early impact because there is a lot of questions, on the defensive line beyond what the top two can bring to the table as far as Jeffrey Mbe and a Terry Webb. How about Jeffrey going over to take a trip back to where his family's from in Africa? Was able to do that and thank the Boulevard Collective for making that happen. I could try to pull up the video here, but he looked like he took his family to Gabon in Central Africa and made the rounds, which is really, really cool. And that's kind of what, I would say NIL is all about in the grand scheme of things, like being able to do some of these things that Jeffrey was able to do. Really looking forward to chatting with him. Again, he's from France now, or is from France, but is really, obviously close to his roots and wanted to do this. So he took his family and was able to, go home, go back to where he was born. So pretty cool moment for him that he arrived this spring. He's a freaky player that SMU is really excited about, but just wanted to make note of that he made his way back over there and got to speak to some kids and talk with some other people. It looks like he went on almost a full media tour. So pretty cool stuff there if you're watching on YouTube and you want to follow him on Twitter and check out what he's done. So as we continue on breaking down who is on campus, we can kind of run through some of these other high school prospects that are now officially SMU Mustangs. And one of them, as far as, and I'm trying not to do this as the guys who are most physically ready to go, but I do think it is worth doing it that way because, people want to know who potential early impact guys are. But Sael Reyes out of DeSoto by way of East St. Louis, Illinois, is somebody that jumps out on you. I've talked with members of the coaching staff and some people in the high school ranks as well, and he is just so. I mean, he looks like he's been in college a couple of years. He really could be somebody that ends up being a linebacker. I'm not saying that's SMU's plan for him by any means, but he really does physically stand out at such a high level, and he reminds me of kind of Isaiah Wacobia. When Isaiah came into SMU, a lot of people were kind of saying, okay, he could really grow into a box, a will linebacker, and that be what he plays. I still kind of think that was Sael a little bit and play him in the box. So that could be an alternative way for him to maybe find a way on the field. But he physically can play special teams. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. So it'll be about picking up all those schemes and making all that happen. But he also made it in as well. So before we continue on with a look at the rest of the guys that enrolled, and then we'll pop into the transfers and JUCO and things like that. Do want to remind you guys, we're also presented by our friends at StatusJet. StatusJet.com. Reach out to him today and plan your summer travel, plan your fall travel for the football team as well. Get on that. We've also seen some basketball games scheduled as well. SMU does play down in New Orleans against LSU, so that could be a fun, quick little Status Jet trip there and back. Maybe get down there early, have early dinner or what have you in New Orleans, and then go to the game. If you really are feeling yourself, go to Bourbon Street, stop out somewhere else, and then jump on the plane, get a car service back home after that. That's a full day, heck of a day with Status Jet. And make sure you guys mention on the Pony Express, get a discount on a round trip flight with our friends at Status Jet. The rest of the crew that arrived on campus for SMU, a bunch of intriguing athletes. Of course, Carterius Brown is the one that I think, as far as intriguing goes, will take the cake. You know, has that 6'4", 6'3", I think, 6'3" height to him. He's incredibly long. If you're looking for a current roster comp, it's got to be Romello Brinson, in my opinion. Just has to be the way he can move around and has those long legs that probably need a little bit of weight added to them. But that's what Carterius Brown can bring, a true jump ball threat, somebody who can impact in the red zone and make plays and do all of those things. And I think that's really where SMU's really excited about him. You know, they know that they're going to be able to do a lot of fun things with him in the red zone as far as creating mismatches and all of those things. And, if you're SMU, I think Charles Power, who broke down Ja'Kai Anderson, the recent SMU commitment flip from LSU, he said, I really like what SMU is doing as far as bringing in an incredibly diverse group of wide receivers. You look at Ja'Kai Anderson and all the things he can do, returning punts, running the football, even doing all of those things. And then you look at somebody like a Link Rhodes, an absolute speedster from JUCO. You look at Carterius Brown, jump ball winner, technician, Jalen Cooper, Isaiah Robertson, pure football player. All of those things. It's a receiver room that's really being built up into an incredibly strong position group as a whole. So keep an eye on Carterius Brown. I think he is probably more of a redshirt candidate, but really intriguing with what he can bring to the table. And then you get to Isaiah Robertson. He played literally all over for his high school team in Arlington. And I've seen him in person, seen him make an impact for SMU across, or make an impact for Arlington across multiple different ways, running the football, catching the football, playing linebacker, returning punch, returning kicks, doing all those things. And Isaiah Robertson is somebody that I think physically can impact on special teams. You hear a lot of that with true freshmen. I'd love to see more and more of it, because I do think we're at this stage with the SMU roster where there is so much new that we also don't necessarily know how it's going to pan out for some of these players that were brought in or are stepping up into these new roles. Some of these freshmen are going to get opportunities to do that and to make an impact. So Isaiah Robertson is another that I think physically can do it, and we'll see kind of how it goes throughout the rest of the summer as he adds weight and does all of those things. And we round out the wide receiver talk with Link Rhodes. Just a physical freak. If you've seen a picture of him from his Delta College days, he looks like a creative player on Madden. Rob Likens is really excited about him. He's originally from Las Vegas, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's going to have a chance to play and make an impact. I think he could be moved all around the offense for SMU. He had 46 receptions for 607 yards, 894 all-purpose yards, 5 touchdowns. He was not on a good team, and his quarterback play was a little suspect as well. So kind of an interesting eval there, but has been timed at incredible numbers. Is very much in position to make something happen on the field at any time because of his speed. And when you add Dylan Goffney, who's back as well, when you add these freshman receivers, and then you have Jordan Hudson and you have Romello Brinson back on the outside, you added Ymir Knight in the slot. I think the goal for Link Rhodes would kind of to be, a little bit of Danny Gray in year one of SMU. They're not physically the same players as a whole, but he had Danny Gray back in 2020, mind you, 33 receptions, 448 yards, and 4 touchdowns in his first year at SMU. Of course, that was, COVID year. That would be an incredible year for Link Rhodes. These JUCO guys sometimes take a little bit, longer to, piece all that together, but according to Rob Likens. But the hope would be that Danny Gray type of impact would be what Link Rhodes could do for SMU. So he arrived on campus, and it's a big deal that he's here. Before we go any further, do want to remind you guys that we want you guys to head over to Manny's. Say queso and get 10% off your order, 10% off your food at Manny's Tex-Mex. 4 locations across DFW. The one on Mockingbird's great. Coyton Campbell up in Richardson, Plano is tremendous as well. You've also got your Saxey location and your Rockwall kind of Heath location right there on the water-ish. Manny's Tex-Mex delivering incredible food for over a decade now in DFW, well over a decade. So we love Manny's. I just had a friend of mine go there to cap Memorial Day weekend on that Monday, and he texted me a picture of him, his wife, and their baby girl taking advantage of the 10% off deal when you mention queso. So mention queso, help us out there, and get your 10% off at Manny's. All right. To wrap up on the high school front, a few more prospects to go down the line. Elijah Pratt, former IMG Academy safety, comes in. I think he's a prime redshirt candidate as well. Just needs to develop more physically. He is a intriguing prospect who can give SMU, I think, another nickel option long term. And after a year in the system, and again, you've got Ahmad Moses, you've got Isaiah Wacobia, you've got Lamadrick Spencer, you've got some of these guys who have full expectations to play a lot and play big roles. And all of those things are very much on the table for those guys. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on kind of how that goes for those guys. But that means that Elijah Pratt just kind of has a longer road, especially considering, man, Tyron Polley was here in the spring and got those opportunities as well. SMU is certainly going to probably look at him as a redshirt guy in my opinion. So that's Elijah Pratt. And then Miles Uter, we just had an update on him from offensive coordinator Casey Woods. He's from Bayside Academy down in Alabama. His grandfather swam at SMU, so a little bit of a legacy there. And then you've got his brother Graham at the offensive line position playing right now for SMU. So keeping the family legacy going. He's a tall, long prospect. He is going to probably take some physical development and just getting used to the speed of the game when it comes to the college ranks, because Bayside's a small school. A lot of times Miles would play both ways from what I understand. I think he maybe even played a little quarterback, but just a kind of an athlete and a developmental tight end, because you've got, guys like RJ Maryland, Matthew Hibner, Stone Eby back this year. And then Devin Martin will arrive later this summer, the JUCO tight end. And you have Trip Reardon, Adam Moore. So, you have Andre Nickerson as well, committed in the 2026 class. So the next wave of tight ends for SMU is going to include Miles Uter. And he's somebody that doesn't have to play right away, and that's okay. This is a position that sometimes it's okay for guys to sit and learn all the things you got to do, especially in an offense that moves tight ends around like SMU does. So that does it as far as the high school guys who have arrived. They are trying to see if Devin Ferris will get in, Devin Martin, the JUCO tight end, but the high school guys are all in. So that's good news for SMU. But there are more transfers. I know I mentioned Link Rhodes, the junior college wide receiver, but SMU did bring some beef on the defensive line, and Kevontae Spears has arrived from Missouri, a key addition for this SMU team. Big plug in the middle, has now made it to SMU, and he is somebody who started games for Memphis. He's got a chance to make an impact, being a little bit more of that true nose tackle type for SMU, just a big body who has played a lot of football over the course of his career already. And Ja'Kai Lang has come in as well from Missouri, a former blue chip prospect who played a little bit for Missouri, kind of a backup role, but now will look to make an impact at SMU. And he came in as a 3-star prospect in the class of 2023, but had offers from Missouri, Oregon, Tennessee, Wisconsin, other power conference programs. And he redshirted his first year with Missouri and then played a lot of football, 12 games in 2024, 13 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. So SMU does have 3 years of eligibility remaining with him, which is a good deal for the Mustangs as they get him into this program. And the defensive line rebuild is not done, and that includes William Spencer. Woo is what they call him. Former offensive lineman at Louisville, 6'5", 305. He just finished up his redshirt freshman season, so he's got 3 years left. And again, has made that transition from the interior of the offensive line to the defensive tackle position. He made 4 tackles, played against Georgia Tech, SMU, and Kentucky. He's kind of, again, another nose tackle-ish option for SMU, and they're excited about him. They need a William Spencer and or a Cavante Spears to pan out. Has to happen. Has to happen for SMU. And they do have another versatile piece that they bring in Akil Washington from South Alabama. And he is somebody that played for Scott Simons all the way back at Liberty. Played in all 13 games in 2024, 10 starts, 41 tackles, 6 tackles in the season opener or the road opener at Ohio, and has played a bunch of football. He can play both edge positions, drop linebacker, kind of all over. So he's going to be a fun piece for Scott Simons to bring into the fold. And then Ymir Knight arrived from James Madison. Really, really talented player here who's going to get a chance to be the punt returner for SMU for sure. He finished 2024 with 53 catches, 605 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Great option in the slot for SMU. They won a big recruiting battle over plenty of programs for him. So Ymir Knight, again, we mentioned Link Rhodes, we mentioned Ymir Knight now, and of course Dylan Goffney, the former SMU wide receiver who has now returned to the program, is back as well. And he will be another guy that SMU looks to get right up to speed with Kevin Jennings and get him working out with him and really building that rapport and being a nice piece for SMU this season, which is his final year of eligibility. He gets to play it back in his home state. So with that, guys, that is who's arrived for this program this summer. So we will keep you guys up to date on the other players that are expected in this summer if SMU gets them in. And when they do, we will keep you in the loop on that and on theponyexpress.com. So we appreciate you guys jumping in with us at the On the Pony Express podcast presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. Mark Villasana and his whole team, make sure you reach out to him today, 214-352-5656. They do great work. We appreciate their support of the On the Pony Express podcast. And also, big interview coming up for us later this week on the Pony Express podcast. So make sure you check us out and join us because we'll have a special guest, and we're going to do a lot of that over the coming weeks at ontheponyexpress.com. So appreciate all you guys for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Hit that subscribe button, follow button, like, rate, review, all the things. We'll see you on the website, ontheponyexpress.com. Subscribe for just $1. I'm Billy Embody. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody.
Follow us on your socials on X at SMU3 and on Instagram at On3SMU.
And keep it locked to ontheponyexpress.com for more coverage.